Hey team, I find myself making this comment a lot, so normally when that happens, I try to address it with the whole class, and I figure a video is the easiest way to do that. So, AP Comp kids, while I am looking through these research papers, a comment I am frequently making is the purpose of the device is not necessarily that just the device exists, but why does it get used here? So, for example, there's a couple devices that I'm frequently saying this with. A lot of times it's dialogue, other times it's setting or tone. There's been a couple instances where you've just generally said logos or ethos, but they all work with the same practical sort of suggestion that I'm going to give you. If you are saying, like for logos, he gives us hard evidence, like how many boats were on the Titanic and how many people were in the boats. And your explanation for that is, well, it's hard facts. He gave us the number. Yes, you already said he used logos. It's not inherently wrong that you then reiterate to me that this is in fact hard evidence logos. But why is he using it? Nobody sits as a writer and just hatches a fully formed book. It doesn't happen. So like a writer sits down, looks at what they have in front of them and goes, how do I put the pieces together to feel a certain way, to communicate a certain way? All of this is intentional. All of it is crafted. Some of your explanations are treating these devices as though their purpose is to exist. Like he just uses dialogue because people talk and that's why he uses dialogue. He does not have to use dialogue. There is no rule that says he has to use dialogue. None. What does it do that he makes John Jacob Astor talk to you? He doesn't have to. Especially at the time he's writing when everybody knew what Astor said. He didn't have to. Why do it? Why have you hear directly from Captain Smith? Why have you perched in the lookout nest with the guys looking for icebergs? And why have that moment be so calm? That moment is incredibly calm in the book. Whereas even in the movie, that moment was a lot more tense, like the dark, scary music set in. And like, we saw the whole ship shake. In the book, it's very kind of lighthearted and like almost you blink and you miss it. They hit an iceberg that sinks the Titanic, and it's like blink and you miss it. You almost have to go back and look for the section of the book where they hit the iceberg. They focus more on the timing, the timestamp, how many seconds it takes Fleet to call down, and then how many seconds it takes them to react. Because the iceberg itself, in and of itself, is not the terrifying thing. Icebergs are parts of nature. They're inevitable. They exist. They occur. The part that Lord seems to focus on and draw our attention to is not the iceberg as this big, natural, like horrible device that just kills people, right? The iceberg doesn't kill people. What kills people? How many seconds it takes to call down the hit. How many seconds it takes to try and turn. How many seconds they waste. And those seconds are the crucial seconds. That's why he uses the ellipses where he uses the ellipses. That's why he uses chronology. That's why. He's not just stating facts, stating evidence. If the reason that you are saying, well, he uses dialogue so that you know what people said, he could summarize what people said. He doesn't have to use quotation. He doesn't have to use it. Physically putting it on the page that way gives it this air of like gravitas and importance. This is what was said and who it was said by. And frequently he's quoting people that we want to slap in the face. He's quoting people who are like, please go and get, my extra night dress so that I'm not cold because it's a little chilly on deck tonight. Oh, I'm going to go back to my room and read. This little struggle's not going to be very important. So like The reason he's making you hear it, because when your eye sees quotation marks, it knows something's been said, so your ear reacts to hearing stuff. You need to push your explanation past merely saying, he uses quotation because there's quotation and because someone said this, to why is he making you hear it? Why is he making you hear it? What does it do for you as a reader? A lot of times the way I've been encouraging you guys to think about this is like a point of comparison, right? Does he have to describe it this way? What if he described it a different way? What do the two things do? Sorry, there's a deer. Their deer is limping. It has a broken leg. The dog is very angry at it. Hopefully that stops her. Anyway, the reason that he gives you these things is because one does something the other does not. I could just say to you, John Jacob Astor was very confident the ship would not sink and said as much to people around him. And I have communicated what he said, but not how he said it. It rings totally differently. So a lot of times your explanations, I find myself saying, yes, that's how the device works. Why is it here? You are also, many of you, making the error to give sort of the credit for that device to the character as opposed to the writer. So you're saying something like, Fleet said this, or Fleet does this, or Fleet doing this does this to us. Fleet is a character on page. He was a person, but in the context of this book, he is a character. So when you are considering what he does, I would like you very much to focus on Lord first. Lord does this because. Lord makes Fleet do this because. Have a great day, kids.